Hi there, I'm Madeline and it's so nice to meet you. Welcome to the 45th Celebrity Synastry chart reading where we will be covering Simone Biles and Jonathan Owens. For those new and returning, I take notes on a Synastry chart looking at the personal planets, signs, aspects, and if birth times are available house overlays. I also add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. Feel free to leave your own in the comments below. Before we start this reading, give this video a like and subscribe for more Celebrity Synastry chart reading. Let's get into it. Starting off with the Sun, we have Simone's Sun in Pisces and Jonathan's Sun in Cancer. These are both water signs. It's an understanding and emotional relationship and they share interests. I believe they are both athletes, so that's a similar kind of interest. Different sport, but still athletic. Simone is not sentimental like Jonathan and they are sensitive of each other's needs. Jonathan's Sun overlaid in Simone's 8th house. There's a strong bond and emotional dependence, again with the emotional nature. Jonathan is captivated by Simone and Jonathan may feel he cannot leave. Okay. Simone has the ability to transform Jonathan. They both feel initially afraid of this relationship and they both weirdly enjoy the darkness and depth of this relationship. Interesting. Simone may have come into Jonathan's life when he is at the bottom. I don't really know much about Jonathan in terms of his career. Simone, I know a little bit more. So I'm not sure where exactly it would be at the bottom. Maybe we'll see a bit more later. Their suns are trying together, so there's mutual respect and they energize each other. They're supportive and cooperative with each other. They can deal with conflict in a healthy way and they accumulate wealth and luck. I'm sure they would. Even though Simone is retired, I believe now, she was one of the top gymnasts. I believe Jonathan is a footballer in the NFL. I'm not too familiar with American football, but I assume that is a pretty higher up place to be if you're in the football industry. Simone's Sun, Trine Jonathan's Mercury. There's a great friendship and they have good communication. Simone accepts Jonathan. They both just get each other and they do business together. Well, I assume that will be potentially where they accumulate wealth and luck. Simone supports Jonathan's beliefs and they can talk through issues together. It's nice that we see this again because we just saw they can deal with conflict in a healthy way, so I appreciate that. Simone gets what makes Jonathan tick and Simone admires Jonathan's intelligence. They speak to each other with understanding and they understand each other on a basic level. Simone allows Jonathan to express himself. I kind of find this funny because this relationship really came into the limelight because of Jonathan's odd comments. So I wonder if we're going to see a bit more, but so far with this one, she seems to be allowing this. And Simone feels she can think better around Jonathan. Simone's Sun opposite Jonathan's Mars. Sparks fly and Jonathan is defensive. Oh, yikes. I don't like seeing this because, like, that is what we see publicly. He's a bit more on the defensive side. They both assert independence. They compete with each other. This is interesting. And they get annoyed with each other. Simone's Sun conjunct Jonathan's Saturn. Simone is resentful of Jonathan. I mean, I think we can all think of why or assume one big reason why. But I'm sure we'll see more specifically in this reading where this is coming from. Because obviously, as we just saw, Simone seems to be a bit okay with his comments and behavior, so maybe it's somewhere else. We'll see more. As I said, they need to make time for fun and they can overcome obstacles together. I'm liking that this is repeated. I'm not gonna lie, that's nice. Relationship strengthens over the years and they are able to depend on each other. Jonathan needs to learn to stop being so critical. This is what I don't like that is repeated. We're seeing Jonathan's behavior in this reading. Jonathan can be threatened by Simone's individuality. Jonathan has a tendency to repress Simone. This aspect is literally just what the public sees or saw. Simone's vitality diminishes after being with Jonathan. Simone needs to learn to not be so sensitive to criticism. I'm sure other criticism, I will give it that. But the comments Jonathan has made publicly, she shouldn't feel the need to stop being sensitive to that. It's very reasonable. Both feel they can have a stable relationship. Yeah, I see that, honestly. Like, if they are able to overcome challenges together, it seems like they're very good at that. Simone's Sun, Sextile Jonathan's Neptune. They easily forgive each other. I don't like that. Explore intuition together and they are attuned to each other's feelings. This is also a nice thing. They seem to be very in tune emotionally and feelings wise. They're conscious of each other's needs and they both feel they have found their soulmate. That's nice. Simone's Sun trine Jonathan's Pluto. It's transformative, particularly on Jonathan's end. We saw Simone transforms him. It's a productive relationship. I assume this would be related to how they potentially have a business together and accumulate wealth and luck together. They are fascinated with each other and they both want to get to know each other deeply. Jonathan inspires Simone to dramatically transform herself. Interesting. So it looks like they both transform a lot in this relationship. Jonathan's Sun sextile Simone's Moon. It's an easy friendship and a fulfilling relationship. There's a natural compatibility. I kind of see that. Besides seeing Jonathan's behavior in this reading so far, without that, they do seem to be very compatible. They are cooperative with each other. Jonathan depends on Simone's support. I assume this will be particularly linking back to how when Simone first met him, he was at the bottom. Simone trusts Jonathan's wisdom. I'm not obsessed with this. Oh, Jonathan's Sun trine Simone's Mercury. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So everything from before is further emphasized, but also Jonathan accepts Simone and Jonathan supports Simone's beliefs. Jonathan gets what makes Simone tick and he feels he can think better around Simone. He admires her intelligence and Jonathan allows Simone to express herself. I'm glad that she's allowed to express herself. That's nice. Jonathan's Sun sextile Simone's Mars. They motivate each other. They give each other space. They have different hobbies. I would assume so. They are both generally athletic, but I'm sure they would have different hobbies because gymnastics and football, both athletic sports, but at the same time, very different. So I assume they would lean towards different interests as well. Neither feels blocked. Jonathan admires Simone's drive. So it looks like he actually appreciates Simone more than we think. Can further the other's goals. They both give each other confidence. They participate in activities together and they are straightforward with each other. I like this. I really like they seem to have really good communication. They seem to be able to go through things together well. They tend to get annoyed at each other, we see again. Jonathan's Sun opposite Simone's Neptune. There's misunderstandings and Jonathan has a lack of trust. Interesting. Delusion and deception occur. Simone promises more than fulfills. Both need to be clearer with each other. I wonder where. Well, we'll see more. Jonathan believes Simone is the soulmate. We see this again. They see each other as a soulmate, which is nice. Jonathan's Sun trines Simone's Pluto. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted, so everything from before is further emphasized, but also Simone inspires Jonathan to dramatically transform himself. So we're seeing again, they are both very much transformed here. So now it's time for Moon. So both their moon signs are in Gemini, so they both value logic over emotion. They thrive on talking to each other, attracted to each other's intellect, which makes sense because we both see that they allow the other to express themselves. Emotional detachment is not a problem. Interesting, because we saw that do have some kind of emotional basis to their relationship, but we'll probably see more now. Jonathan's Moon overlaid in Simone's 7th house. It's an accepting atmosphere. Jonathan feels secure with Simone. Because we literally have seen that Jonathan puts down Simone and represses her, I wonder why this is the case, because everything else seems to be fine, but he seems to have this tendency. So I really hope we will see a bit more into that. They want to be together frequently and they complement each other. I think one way they would complement each other, this is just my opinion, even though they are both in athletics, they are, I guess, more complementary of that in terms of gymnastics. Is a lot more feminine and delicate, and then you have football, which is a lot more aggressive masculine. So that's one way I guess they would complement each other well. Simone likes Jonathan's quirks. We see again that she really appreciates him. Simone finds Jonathan enjoyable and she wants to support Jonathan. There's a lot of Simone supporting Jonathan. Their moon signs are conjunct together, so they're intuitive with each other and they both have in-tune moons. We see again that they're both very much in tune with each other. They like to support each other, definitely on Simone's end. They accept each other's feelings and there's a tendency to get passive-aggressive, probably on Jonathan's end. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized synastry readings on my Etsy store, both basic and detailed. The basic one is very simple to understand. It's not overwhelming at all. It's pretty good for those that are beginners to astrology, just getting the head around astrology, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed one is just like what I do on my channel, just a lot of insight and interpretation on your chart. So if you are interested in that and everything else astrology and tarot related, readings and gifts, then definitely check out my Etsy store. Links are below. I'm always releasing new things, so definitely check it out if you're interested. You can even just favorite the store just to show your support for free. Thanks for listening, and let's get back to the reading. Simone's moon trine Jonathan's Mars, instinctively drawn to each other, there's mutual attraction, it's a lively relationship. Simone nurtures and feeds Jonathan's ego. I don't like this. Expressing feelings is spontaneous here. Jonathan teaches Simone to be brave and confident. Again, we do see that they both seem to make each other confident in everything, which is nice. Simone's moon opposite Jonathan's Jupiter. Their emotions can get out of control. There's unkept promises. We saw this on Simone's end, so I assume it would be from her end too here. Attracted to each other because the other has what they need. I wonder what that would be. Simone may smother Jonathan and both think the other is a bad influence. Interesting. Simone's moon trine Jonathan's Uranus. They both feel free to express themselves. We see again. Jonathan is more open around Simone. Ideas of unconventional domestic setup bring them together. I'm not sure what their living situation is at all or anything like that, but that's there. They can cope with sudden changes together. We've been kind of seeing they do seem to cope with changes and challenges together very well. Level of unpredictability. Jonathan feels safe around Simone. They enjoy talking about social issues and mutual friends may bring them together. We did see the friendship aspect, so potentially they started off as friends or same social circles. Simone's moon opposite Jonathan's Pluto. Jealousy and emotional manipulation is an underlying element. Jonathan can see Simone's unconscious needs and uses it to manipulate her. The whole passive-aggressive thing, I feel like that is so on Jonathan. Like, he seems to just be very passive-aggressive towards Simone for what I want to know. I mean, we have been seeing the only real negative on Simone's end is that whole unkept promises thing. I feel like Jonathan's reaction is way too far if that's the only reason. Jonathan has a controlling power over Simone and projecting is an issue. Simone's need for safety and belonging leads her to being taken advantage of. Both need to learn that love and control are separate and they will need to work through power struggles. Yeah, I definitely see this in terms of what the public has been saying about them recently. I definitely see this in terms of what the public is saying about them and the public's general consensus of these two. You know, Jonathan seems to want to project this sort of very like masculine, domineering sort of personality in public, like I'm a real man's man. But then he has Simone, you know, his wife. I believe they are married. Who is arguably a lot more successful. You know, I'm not even into sports, let alone gymnastics, and I'm not in America, and even I know about Simone Biles, which I feel like would be their power struggle. You know, Jonathan wants to be the dominant one, but he has a more, I don't want to use the word successful, but a more famous spouse, wife. Unstable and explosive. Jonathan's moon trines Simone's Mars. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So Jonathan nurtures and feeds Simone's ego, and Simone teaches Jonathan to be brave and confident. I'm glad he's feeding into her ego. At least that's equal. I'm glad that's an equal thing they have. Jonathan's moon trines Simone's Jupiter. They have good fortune, possibility of being too excessive. Honest communication is easy. That is a good thing I see here. They're happy in each other's presence. Adventure is important in this relationship. Simone helps Jonathan with his emotions. Jonathan's moon sextile Simone's Saturn. Simone feels Jonathan is committed to her. It's not a shallow relationship. Simone is accountable to Jonathan. Jonathan's moon trines Simone's Uranus. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So Simone is more open around Jonathan, and Simone feels safe around Jonathan. Jonathan's moon trines Simone's Neptune. Jonathan picks up on Simone's needs, again with the whole being in tune with each other. They inspire each other and it's a mystical meeting. Art is a shared interest. That is actually very interesting. Like, just a side comment, I feel like in every other reading, yeah, of course art is a shared interest because mostly I cover, you know, actors, musicians, all of that sort of thing. And then these two are athletes and like artists just shared interests, which, you know, everyone can like art. They sense each other's feelings. Again, they both uncover the other's blind spots. I really hope so, because they need it. Jonathan really needs it. They share a sensitive and mystical worldview. Jonathan's moon opposite Simone's Pluto. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted, so everything from before is further emphasized, but also Simone can see Jonathan's unconscious needs and uses it to manipulate him. I'm not against this. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of find it funny that this is one of the things that they are sort of equal on. Simone has a controlling power over Jonathan. I'm sure if like he was at the bottom and she transformed him, that is kind of a power move. Jonathan's need for safety and belonging leads him to be taken advantage of. This is very interesting. Like, another side comment, I'm really glad, not necessarily glad, but I think it is kind of nice that there's a lot of repeated aspects. To me, that indicates there's a lot of equality, same feelings about a lot of things, which I like. But also, it's very interesting that this very toxic element is repeated. Normally this is on one end. I don't remember I've ever seen anyone have this particular aspect repeated, which is very interesting. So now it's time for Mercury. We have the Simone's Mercury in Pisces and Jonathan's Mercury in Cancer. These are both water signs. Prioritize their feelings and emotions. I actually find this really nice because we saw that emotional detachment is not a problem. It seems like they have the sort of like the same emotional level, if that makes, I mean, they both have the same moon sign. I find it nice that they seem to share that sort of same, you know, level of emotions, if that makes sense. They are both invested in this relationship and understand the other's intuitive approach to life. I don't know about Jonathan. I'm pretty sure he's still an active football player, I assume. But with Simone having an earlier retirement to gymnastics, I believe it was due to her mental health and she didn't feel like it was for her anymore. I assume Jonathan would be very supportive in that. Only because of this, I feel like Jonathan, you know, would be supportive of that and wouldn't be pushing her back into sport, you know? Because I feel like a lot of people in the public really judged her for that decision and really questioned her. I don't feel like Jonathan would be one of those people. They nurture each other and they both are sensitive and take things personally. It seems like it. I feel like they are both slightly more sensitive people. Jonathan's Mercury in Simone's 8th house overlaid. Jonathan can hurt Simone with words. With the little we have seen with this sort of Jonathan's behavior, I don't feel like Simone likes. You know, literally he hurts her with words and he represses her. It's just, yeah. Simone takes conversation seriously and Jonathan is prone to dominating conversation. I don't like this because it seems like it affects her and it's just sad. It would be one thing if, you know, she didn't care and everything, but it seems like she does. Conversation tends to get deep quickly and there's clear and precise conversation. The Mercury signs are Trine together, so there's easy communication and they solve problems together. Repeated again, which I do like that this is repeated. They hold similar views and they enjoy learning from each other. Complementary ideas and thoughts, we see again with the complementary aspect. There's mutual understanding and misunderstandings are unlikely. I would say they do seem to be pretty similar people, I'm not gonna lie. Simone's Mercury trine Jonathan's Venus. Jonathan is attracted to Simone's intellect. We see again, I'm pretty sure. There's warm communication, they respect each other's thoughts and ideas. Jonathan softens Simone. They are sensitive to each other, again with them being like more sensitive and intuitive of each other. They share mutual friends, we see again. Simone helps Jonathan verbalize his feelings. I don't know if I like this or not. I'm not gonna lie. Like this I feel a bit iffy about because we know his feelings about particular things. Simone's Mercury opposite Jonathan's Mars. They likely bicker a lot. Simone feels her intelligence is threatened by Jonathan. I can see why, like, it doesn't seem like he disrespects her intelligence, but I think, yeah, I wouldn't die of shock. Simone's thoughts may rub Jonathan the wrong way. Jonathan wants Simone to be more docile. This I don't like. Because genuinely, I feel like I don't know a lot about Simone, but she seems to be a bit more like of a stronger force. So I assume she wouldn't hide that from Jonathan. So I assume that's where it's coming from. Jonathan frequently interrupts, again with him dominating conversation. Jonathan tries to force his opinion on Simone, and it's difficult to live together. Simone's Mercury conjunct Jonathan's Saturn. Jonathan influenced Simone to be more productive. There are practical conversations. Simone is not comfortable talking to Jonathan. Interesting. There's difficult communication. I assume she wouldn't be comfortable talking to about certain things because, like, on the whole, like, definitely with problem solving, that seems to be very well. Jonathan makes Simone self-conscious. I don't like this. Jonathan criticizes Simone. I mean, we kind of see that publicly. There's mutual respect in the beginning. Jonathan feels threatened by Simone. I guess that's where it comes from with these last two aspects, because in the beginning I was like, why is Jonathan acting this way? Probably his masculinity just feels threatened by Simone. Jonathan acts as a teacher with Simone. Simone's Mercury sextile Jonathan's Uranus. They attract opportunities as a couple, which they do seem to do. Simone finds Jonathan intellectually stimulating, and they're perceptive and intuitive of each other. We see again. They have open communication and they encourage the other's vision. As I said earlier, like, it seems like Jonathan is okay with Simone's vision of retiring. That's a weird way to put it, but it seems like he's supportive. Which also, I don't know if I should say that as a good thing, because Jonathan seems to want her to be more docile. Simone's Mercury sextile Jonathan's Neptune. There's easy communication and they share creative interests. We see that again. They are captivated by each other. They both enjoy talking about arts, dreams, and spirituality. They just get each other. Simone's Mercury trine Jonathan's Pluto. They have deep conversations and there's revealing of deep dark secrets here. I see that there seems to be an underlying toxicity to this relationship. Jonathan helps Simone open her mind. It's a therapist-patient relationship. Interesting. They get to the bottom of matters together. I see that. They feel very close to each other and they resolve difficult issues together. Simone is fascinated with Jonathan's depth, and Jonathan appreciates Simone's humor and easygoing nature. Interesting. Jonathan's Mercury trines Simone's Venus. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted. So Simone is attracted to Jonathan's intellect, Simone softens Jonathan, and Jonathan helps Simone verbalize her feelings. So now it's time for Venus. We have Simone's Venus in Pisces and Jonathan's Venus in Cancer. These are both water signs. It's a devoted relationship. They definitely seem devoted. Like, I know we haven't explicitly seen any, like, they're loyal to each other, but we haven't seen anything otherwise either. There's mutual respect. They prioritize their emotions. There's fundamental differences, and Jonathan gets concerned about Simone. Okay, it's warm and nurturing. Jonathan's Venus in Simone's 8th house overlaid. Jonathan is captivated by Simone, and Simone has fantasies specific to Jonathan. Jonathan is willing to do anything for Simone, and it's transformative, we see again. And we see again with the whole captivated thing. The Venus signs are trine together, so they enjoy each other's company. We see that again. They both have a desire to make the other happy, which we also see again. There are some things in this relationship that are repeated and good. Appreciate how the other dresses, handles money, and socializes, and they share mutual community. Again, we see mutual social circles. Simone's Venus conjunct Jonathan's Saturn. Jonathan stabilizes Simone's emotions, and Jonathan feels responsible for Simone. This is interesting that he seems to worry about her and feel responsible for her. Simone may be restricted by Jonathan. I don't like that this is repeated. They always come back together. I don't know if they've ever had an on and off dynamic. They may demand too much from each other too soon. It's a painful but strong bond. I see this because they do seem to have a strong bond, but as I said, on both ends, there does seem to be a bit of an underlying toxicity. So now it's time for Mars. We have Simone's Mars in Virgo and Jonathan's Mars in Libra. Simone tends to be critical of Jonathan. I'm not going to lie, I'm glad this is back on Jonathan. Jonathan defends Simone, I assume just privately or like with their friends and family, not publicly, definitely. They compromise with each other and Simone gets nervous around Jonathan. Yeah, I don't like that Simone feeling, repressed and anxious around Jonathan keeps getting repeated. Jonathan's Mars in Simone's 10th house overlaid. Jonathan brings out Simone's competitive side. there's a cold and detached chemistry. I don't feel like there is, honestly, like a cold chemistry. I know, as I said, there is that bit of like underlying toxicity, but they do generally seem to want to make each other happy. Neither knows what they want from each other. I find this interesting because I think we did see that they're both attracted to what the other can get them. I assume this would be they have a feeling they can get something from the other, but it's not necessarily like a concrete, I can get this. It's like, okay, potentially can get this. Jonathan seems uninterested in Simone to outsiders. Yes. In a way, definitely yes. Relationship seems intense to outsiders. It just seems not great. Simone tends to put her walls up around Jonathan. I'm not shocked, because if she feels repressed around him and a bit more anxious, yeah, it makes sense. Simone both craves and fears Jonathan's stability. This is a very random take, but we've seen on both ends it is repeated that their, need for belonging and safety gets taken advantage of. And the whole thing with uncovering the other's blind spots, potentially there is an issue, because we're seeing this, potentially on both ends there is an issue with some kind of trauma or something that makes them both conduct themselves in this relationship a bit differently. And in this sort of way, like on Simone's end, it manifests as putting her walls up around Jonathan and both fearing and craving this stability. Their moon signs are conjunct together, so there's straightforward communication and there's healthy competitiveness, again with the competitiveness. They identify with each other on a basic level, inspire each other to do their best, and they may be physically active together. They are both literally athletes. Easy for them to get into conflict. We have seen this repeated here and there. Simone's Mars opposite Jonathan's Saturn. They both will discover what they want from a relationship. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Like, we saw that the relationship strengthens over time, so maybe they adjust to each other in that. Jonathan tries to control Simone. Jonathan finds Simone's energy to be attractive initially. I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan was really attracted to Simone's more assertive personality. From what I know about her, she seems to, as I said, be a bit more assertive, very like strong woman, does what she wants. So I assume this will be something initially Jonathan is really into, but it seems like over time does not like it, as we kind of seen this reading. Jonathan becomes annoyed of Simone's childishness. Interesting. Simone feels like she's always being watched by Jonathan. Not obsessed. Jonathan just seems to be very threatened masculinity wise. Like, it seems like he feels like his masculinity is always being threatened by Simone. There's a difference in view. Simone's Mars trine Jonathan's Uranus. Simone feels free around Jonathan. There's an unusual meeting. We did see earlier there is a bit of a mystical element. Respect each other's independence. I hope they do. Simone is not a fan of Jonathan's lack of boundaries. I mean, my initial reaction normally goes to like, he's going out and about. But potentially maybe he speaks about their relationship or just his lack of boundaries with what he says publicly. Simone's Mars trine Jonathan's Neptune. There's a lack of boundaries, particularly on Jonathan's end. Jonathan strengthens Simone's ego. We see this with the whole ego thing on both ends. Simone feels confident around Jonathan. She definitely seems to feel conflicted around Jonathan. Like, throughout this reading, there is that element, we just saw craves and fears Jonathan's stability. She feels anxious but also confident around Jonathan. She's anxious. Simone is more dominant. I agree. Just to annoy Jonathan, I agree. Simone's Mars sextile Jonathan's Pluto. Simone's daring nature is attracted to Jonathan. See, that's what I'm saying. It seems like he was very attracted to, it seems like he was very attracted to Simone being just a bit more daring, a bit more like, assertive. Competitive, we see again. Potential to be destructive or dangerous. We did see earlier the note on them being unstable and explosive. Power issues, and dramatic fights occur. Jonathan's Mars trines Simone's Neptune. Simone strengthens Jonathan's ego. We see again, Jonathan is more dominant. He certainly wants to be more dominant, and I feel like in an unhealthy way he is. Jonathan feels confident around Simone. We see that again, the whole confidence aspect. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of this reading. If you are still watching, definitely share your thoughts below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this relationship. Definitely a very interesting one, and I feel like pretty insightful as well. And if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more videos from me. I post these readings weekly. And besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye!